Okay, why do I get the feeling I just watched another 3 hour Raw on a Sunday night? Oh, yeah, probably because I did. Hello, everyone, Sir Owen Disney here, and we're going to talk about Night of Champions. And before the very end of the show, it was a very, very predictable event, and there were pretty much no surprises until the very end. But I'll get to that as we progress. So, real quick little housekeeping. As you see, I'm wearing my Magic Band, and it's working just fine. I've had it on since Friday, so now I am getting ready for the third day of wearing the Magic Band. You know, honestly, I have no problems with it. I'm very comfortable. It doesn't bother me at all. I've showered in it. It breathes. It's not that bad. So, there's always that. Do want to say that Sunday was not a filming day. I guess there's a couple options. Today being Monday, that is an option. And we can do that before Raw. Of course, I'm going to recap Raw for you guys. It'll be the last wrestling recap I do before I go home. If I get the idea that I want to do videos for WWE or TNA or even NXT while I'm gone, it's going to be a last minute thing, and I probably won't happen. So I guess when I come back, I'm going to have to do a little catch up. I won't do catch up videos. I'm just going to do a little catch up. So there's always that. So I'm going to miss a couple of weeks of everything, because obviously I'm going to be knee deep in Disney awesomeness and Universal awesomeness and SeaWorld awesomeness as of 3 days from now. So, very excited for that. Still haven't decided what's going on for Halloween Horror Nights for the 27th. May end up going over to Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party instead. Touring plans do say it's going to be the busiest party of the entire season, so I kind of want to see what that crowd looks like. So, you're like, oh, and you're crazy. Some might say. But it's okay. Because I still get in, regardless what happens, I still get in my opening weekend, starting this Friday and Saturday with the Tim Tracker. Tim and Jen, I'll be hanging out with both of them on Friday and Saturday. So a lot of Halloween Horror Nights stuff to do. I am probably still going to do a Halloween Horror Nights video before I leave, if I have time. Today's going to be a really packed day. I got to go to the Walmart. Yay. I wish I could go to Target, but obviously we don't have a Target here. I got to go to the Walmart, pick up a couple things, screen protector for my my Nexus 7, and I need to pick up some spray-on sunscreen, and I should be good to go. I think that's pretty much all I need to worry about, and then I'm completely set. So I work on Tuesday and Wednesday, so 2 last days of work, 2 last times of Buffalo Wild Wings with AJ, and we're good to go. So, hopefully we'll get the videos out for the reviews of a really successful movie day yesterday. Very enjoyable films. I love The Spectacular Now. Austin Land was pretty good, and Ain't Body Saints wasn't bad either. So it was actually a very successful movie day. So we'll talk about that when we get there. So of course we're going to be recapping Raw on Monday night / Tuesday morning. So it'll be up for the Tuesday video. Will be Raw. So let's talk about Night of Champions, shall we? So we're going to start off with the pay-per-view kickoff show, and the pre-show this time around had a Tag Team Turmoil match, which featured 5 WWE tag teams. Now, the first thing I'm going to say right off the top, there should have been 6. 5 is pretty uneven, to be totally honest, because if you have a match with multiple teams, if you have 4 teams, you have 2 teams facing off on one side and 2 teams facing off on the other side. If you have 5 teams, you have 2 teams facing off and on one side and 2 teams facing off on the other side. Then you have the 5th team kind of like twiddling their thumbs on the outside or on the warming the ring apron. So not really a point to that. But they ended up doing it elimination rules. And what it would be is one tag team would get eliminated, another tag team would take their place, and the final tag team would end up getting the shot at the WWE Tag Team Championships, currently held by Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns at the Shield. So, this started off the pay-per-view kickoff. It was actually available on YouTube. A lot of media had this series of matches. So, in essence, with this, we've got 5 matches out of it. Now, granted, they weren't long matches. We got 5 matches out of it. So, technically, we didn't go with the normal 1 match. In essence, you got 4 matches. So, there you go. So, we started off with what I predicted, the 3-man band team of Heath Slater and not Jinder Mahal, but Drew McIntyre, and it was really awesome to see him back, taking on Sweet Tea and Brodus Clay of the Tons of Funk. Obviously, the Funkadactyls were nowhere to be found because I knew he was getting ready for her 4-way for the Divas Championship later on in the evening. So, Tons of Funk came out by themselves. And this actually went pretty short. Drew hit something really awesome. Drew hit a tope con hilo on Tensai, rolls him back in the ring, tosses him in, ducks the clothesline, sunset flip 1-2 and a kick out. He charges in and he finds nothing but chest to turnbuckle. Roll up from Brodus Clay, 1-2-3, and the Tons of Funk win the first of several falls in this Tag Team Turmoil match. One by one, I'm going to dissect this booking. I like the 3-man band. They're just, they're a comedy act, and that's pretty much all they'll ever be. I love Drew McIntyre. I think he's amazing. I really think WWE missed the boat on Drew McIntyre. And granted, he's still with the company, but he's not really getting pushed. So, I like Heath Slater. He's grown on me. Jinder Mahal is good at what he does, so I like the group. I'm not big on the Tons of Funk. I still like Brodus Clay's theme. I always will. I really think they should be doing something more with Tensai, to be totally honest. I really wish Tensai would just turn on Brodus and go heel, and then we get, Monster Tensai again. But then again, Monster Tensai didn't really get over. But if you get Monster Tensai and you make him into like he was when he was Giant Bernard, which is what everybody wants him to do anyway, then you might as well have a good heel to go after the mid-carders in the WWE. And Brodus Clay would feud with him for a bit, and then they have their blow-off match, and then they go their separate ways. So, that's what I got there. So, the Tons of Funk's next opponents are Zeb's Militia, the Real Americans, Jack Swagger and Antonio Cesaro. So, this doesn't go very long either. So, Tensai hits a vertical suplex on Cesaro, tagging to Brodus, 2 shoulder blocks, and then the Sheeplex on Cesaro. He charges in with the avalanche in the corner, middle rope splash, and Swagger makes a save right at the 3 count. So a slam float over, and he goes for a power slam. Blind tag on Swagger. Swagger locks in the Patriot Lock, and there's the tap out. So Real Americans go on. They face off against Jimmy and Jey Uso, and they're the next in the Tag Team Turmoil match. Real quickly, obviously Cesaro and Swagger needed to advance given the fact that they needed to get the other babyface teams out of the match because the other heel team in the match was eliminated right off the top. And obviously it was going to come down to either the Real Americans, the Usos, or the Primetime Players. So everyone knew that was going to happen. It was no big surprise when the Real Americans ended up with the Usos in the semi of the Tag Team Turmoil match. So, right away, the Usos with a double backdrop send both Cesaro and Swagger over the top rope to the floor. They hit stereo suicide dives, toss Cesaro back in, goes for the Samoan flying body press, 1-2, and a kick out. So, he goes the charging butt bump and 1-2 and a kick out, ducks the clothesline, tagging to Swagger. Swagger and Cesaro hit a sweet double Uranagi, and Cesaro is end up tagged back in, tagging to Swagger. So, they're cutting the ring off. Jimmy Uso goes up top, Swagger knocks him off, they pull him off right into the Patriot Lock and tap out from the Uso. Real Americans winning this, no-brainer. You don't want 2 baby faces in the finals of this, so obviously the Real Americans had to go over, and that was the right call. They ended up facing off against No Days Off Darren Young and the big deal Titus O'Neil, the Primetime Players. So that would be the finals of the Tag Team Turmoil match, and the winning team would go on to face off against the Shield on the pay-per-view. So, this was good for what it was, too. It does help that they've been working each other on a regular basis actually, no. They've been working each other on a regular basis, and they looked like they were in a feud for a bit, and they decided they wanted to put the kibosh on that and push the Primetime Players legitimately towards the tag team titles, which really was kind of something that unheard of a couple months ago. So there's always that. And Real Americans and Primetime Players are the finals here. So Titus hits the fallaway slam without the bump on Swagger. Basically tosses him over like a sack of groceries. And he goes for the big boot. He ducks out. He clips the leg with a diving clip. Goes for the Patriot lock. D. Young breaks it with a big boot. And backdrop sends Cesaro over the top rope to the floor. So he's out. Tag D. Young gets locked in the Patriot lock. He flips forward, sending Swagger chest first into the buckle. He comes off. Fireman's carry. Lifts him up, throws him off in the double knees. There's the gut check, and 1, 2, 3. So the Primetime Players move on to face the Shield at the pay-per-view. So that was the right decision. No reason for... I love Cesaro, everyone knows that. Swagger, he's good. He's good in the ring. I've never been a major fan of his, but I like the tag team. And the right team went over here. Obviously, you're going to put the baby faces over when you have heel tag team champions. The only other possible ending of this match was maybe the Wyatt family come out and they jump the Primetime Players, or they jump another team and they insert themselves into their spot in the tag match, and then they go into the match and they don't win, obviously. But that's an idea, and obviously they didn't go with it, so yeah, we'll get to that. So as the pay-per-view went live, Triple H welcomed us to Night of Champions' Raw with a 15-minute promo in the middle of the ring with Paul Heyman that turned him more babyface than ever before. Triple H has got to decide what's best for business, being a babyface or being a heel. Obviously, this new entity, this new firm, if you will, is what Booker T's calling them. This new corporate stable, this new tyrannical regime of Triple H is obviously very heavy on the heel tactics. But this segment was very much a babyface segment, but I'll go to that in a second. Triple H comes out, he says, Night of Champions will be one of the greatest nights in history. Not necessarily sure I'd say that. And to show I've listened to the WWE Universe and all that they've said, I've decided to make the WWE Championship match no interference. That means no Shield, no Big Show. No one's allowed to interfere. Paul Heyman comes out with the Intercontinental Champion Curtis Axel. He stops Triple H dead in his tracks. He says, I have a desperate need to speak with you. Apparently, since you don't answer phone calls and you don't have your do-bots tell you what to do and answer my messages that I send you daily, this is the only way I could think of to do it. I didn't want to do it in such a public forum, but obviously, yeah, can't get everything you want. So we're doing this here in the ring. I have a real serious problem. And Heyman stopped dead in his tracks, and Triple H is like, Paul, you look terrible. It's like, you're a wreck. And Heyman just snaps at him. It's like, of course I'm a wreck. And he's like, no, I apologize. I apologize for my outburst. CM Punk wants to hurt me and run me out of this company. I'm begging you, please cancel this handicap match. So Triple H thinks about it for a second. He's like, in reality, Paul, there's no need to really be scared. I mean, all you gotta do is just let Curtis Axel handle the job, and you take care of Punk. You do believe in Curtis Axel, don't you? And he's like, you know what, my feeling, Paul, is that this match is gonna stay the way it is. Axel gets on the mic and says, this is personal. Right, Hunter? You know what? I know it is. On May 20th in Kansas City on Raw, I beat you. And he's like, wow, that's pretty impressive. You remember the date and everything. So, the whole saying about how you don't poke the bear, well, that's pretty much what you just did. And since it's Night of Champions, this is a night where all championships have to be defended. And that wasn't going to be the case, but luckily, I can just go right back there right now and fix that here and now. Because you will be defending that Intercontinental Championship against the first person I run into at the gorilla position. And that match is right now. Triple H leaves. The fans pop for it, obviously because Heyman got his. And Curtis Axel ends up looking like a fool. Heyman basically stands there in bewilderment while Axel says pretty much nothing. Heyman gets on the mic and says, this title match is under protest. Okay. I recap Raw. You guys know that. I've learned that it's not fun to try to write down verbatim a 20-minute promo. I'll probably have to do it on the Raw recap on Tuesday morning. I guarantee you I will. But, I mean, okay, this is a pay-per-view. The pay-per-view is when the fans have paid their hard-earned money to see the after effects, to see the final showdown that you set up on your television program. So, obviously, the fans want to see Daniel Bryan get his redemption over Randy Orton, because Orton and What's Best for Business have been putting him down week after week after week, and just last week did he actually finally get some shine in. So, there's that. I understand why this was done, but I don't want to pay... I necessarily don't need to see Okay. 2 things you don't need on a paper... 3 things you don't need in a pay-per-view, but I'll go with that. Obviously, you don't need commercials. Like the auto parts company that was promoting the show. I understand you have to get your commercial breaks in. And apparently there was a lot of times that Michael Cole on commentary, he was putting over the match like he was getting ready to send it to commercial break, which you can't do that because it's live on pay-per-view. So, there's not that option. 2 things you don't do on pay-per-view as well. You don't not blow off the feud without sending it into another level, obviously. So, if you think you're going to get the same matches on Raw and SmackDown you get on a $60, $70, $80 pay-per-view, depending on what you get, then you pretty much just might as well not even buy it. Why would you buy the pay-per-view? You're getting the same matches on Raw. You'll probably get some of the same matches on Raw tonight. So, there's always that. And I'm okay with promos, but not long promos and video packages after we've seen them a billion times. That's a problem that Raw and SmackDown have. Okay, this event happened 5 minutes ago. Let's be reminded. This event happened 1 hour ago. Let's be reminded. On the pay-per-view, the video packages are phenomenal. I very much enjoy them, but I don't want to see them 15 times in a row. So, I don't like the opening of the show. Triple H obviously is trying to be the babyface here, which is weird because Triple H has been nothing but the heel, especially to Daniel Bryan, Big Show, Dolph Ziggler, pretty much anybody that has crossed What's Best for Business. But the thing about that is, this promo, just like AJ's Pipe Bombshell, came off more like a babyface promo to a percentage of your audience. So, obviously, you're like, boo, Triple H, you suck. Wait a minute, Paul Heyman sucks. Heyman sucks more than Triple H. So obviously, we're going to cheer for Triple H now. So you've completely ruined that right there. So Triple H has to do something completely vile and despicable in order to get you to hate him again. Luckily, I think that's going to be solved Monday night on Raw without any question, especially with the finish of the match. So, oh my god, I'm sorry. Oh, if you haven't noticed, my eye is a little bit better, so, yeah. For those of you that are wondering, it's getting there slowly but surely. Alright. So, Axel's going to defend the Intercontinental Championship in the first match of the night. Who's he going to face? Well, I called this on Raw, and I think it still might happen on Raw, to be totally honest. He's going to face off against Kofi Kingston. So that ends up being our unofficial first match of the pay-per-view. So, it was kind of a fast-paced match, but at some points they went a little too fast, and they kind of threw off their timing. Their timing was off a couple of times. As a matter of fact, I mentioned the word awkward a couple of times in these things. Sorry, my eyes are bothering me. It might not be a bad idea to just clean some, use a paper, there we go. Fingers in my eyes are the reason I have the problem in the first place. Anyway, So, let's talk about the match, shall we? And unlike what we do normally midway through the match, I try to go midway through the match, but sometimes it doesn't really work. So, at one point I just started writing, so here's what we got. So, Whip-In ducks the clothesline, leapfrog over by Curtis Axel, very reminiscent of his late father, the greatest wrestler that ever lived, Mr. Perfect Kurt Hennig, and a standing drop kick. Clothesline over the top rope to the floor, sends Kofi to the outside. So he goes up top. This looks awesome. Axel gets stopped. Kofi springs up to the top of the steps. Uses that to spring to the top, so a double jump into a flying body press on the Axel on the outside. Rolls him back in, 1-2, and a kick out. So whip in, reverse. He climbs up. He gets crotched up there. He gets tied up into the Tree of Woe. And Axel clubs away. He goes for a charging shoulder while he's upside down, pulls him off, 1-2, and a kick out. Goes for the chin lock. Kofi punches his way out. Whip in, reversed, and Axel nails that snap version of the backdrop driver, 1-2, and a kick out. So he goes for the neck twist. And Kofi punches his way out again, ducks the clothesline, and of course, you know, when you duck Curtis Axel's clothesline, what happens next? You get clubbed in the back of the neck, and he rolls him over, hooks the leg, 1-2, and a kick out. So, Snapmare and the perfect somersault neck snap, 1-2, and a kick out, goes back to the chin lock. Again, Kofi punches his way out. He ducks the clothesline into this awkward, like version of a float over DDT. And then, of course, we get Kofi's signature sequence, which is a double chop, and then another double chop, and then the standing drop kick, and then the leaping clothesline, which Axel does duck, because we've seen it 1,000 times, charges in, gets the boot up, double springboard into the flying body press, 1-2, and a kick out. Goes to lower the boom, to drop the boom drop. He nails it. Sets up Trouble in Paradise. Axel ducks out of the way, and he backs him, use the shoulder to run him into the corner. So, multiple shoulders, and Kofi catches him with a back heel kick. Springboards off the top, and when he dives off, we get a Pillman counter from Curtis Axel, which if you don't know what I'm talking about, it's when someone dives off the top rope, and the guy that's in the ring gives him a drop kick to counter. So that's a Brian Pillman counter, and he gets a 2 count off of that. He goes for the snap backdrop driver again. It gets countered into a very awkward roll-up, 1-2, and a kick out. Axel with a clothesline, 1-2, and a kick out. So he goes for the SOS, does Kofi. It gets reversed. Ducks Trouble in Paradise. Goes for the hatchet. Gets countered. SOS, 1-2, and Axel almost kicks out at 3. But he does this time. Whip in reverse. And he lands Kofi on top of his shoulders. So Kofi's punching away. And the first thing that pops in my head is probably something I probably shouldn't have thought of. Like, Kofi's going to reverse Rana Curtis Axel. And then I thought to myself for a second, I was like, wait a minute. Kofi's not going to Rana Curtis Axel. There's no way a reverse Rana is going to happen in a WWE ring. So what happens? He gets thrown off and dropped throat first across the top rope. Axel hits the hatchet this time, and 1-2-3. So Curtis Axel retains the Intercontinental Championship, defeating Kofi Kingston. Okay. Match was kind of disjointed in places. Like I said before, it went a lot faster. Like, the pacing was very fast. It was like with the Divas match later on in the show. But it's like it was off a couple of times. Like, some of the roll-ups not quite working out for me. And hot finishing sequence with the hatchet, countered, SOS, and very, very good false finish on the SOS. And then they ended up going to the finish there. They rushed the finish, really, to be totally honest. I feel like they should have took their time a little bit more, but they probably were given the go home, and they needed to go home, so obviously they did. So, Axel wins. I don't have a problem with that, to be totally honest, because Axel really, really, really needed to win this match. Axel needed to come off looking like a star tonight, because obviously there's a lot of people on the internet, and I've read a couple of things, especially in the last several minutes, that say that Curtis Axel's time is up. The Joe Hennig experiment has failed. Well, I think Axel does lose the Intercontinental Championship on Raw. I do believe that will happen. But the problem with that is Kofi just lost, clean as a sheet, to Intercontinental Champion. So who is the next challenger? I mean, I guess what you could do is stick the Miz on him, but I mean, I don't have a problem with that. I guess you could have Miz and Axel feud again. But Miz is kind of tied up with Fandango right now, and like I said, that double turn I talked about, in order for that to happen, they have to keep feuding, and they have to keep working each other, so needless to say, there's always that. So, we get our next match of the evening, which I talked about the Divas title, and we're actually going right into it. So, 4-way for the Divas Championship. AJ Lee putting the championship on the line against Natalya, Brie Bella, and Naomi of the Funkadactyls. I'm gonna start with a couple of things right now. I'm gonna be a guy right now, and I'm gonna say I think AJ Lee's absolutely beautiful, and everyone knows I love cute and crazy girls, and that's a shoot. But Natty is very, very attractive. Naomi is pretty, and you know, Brie Bella just like, oh my god, she like absolutely gorgeous tonight. I like the rainbow bright gear. That was kind of cool. Even though it was voted by WWE.com, apparently, which I didn't even hear anything about that. And I have the WWE app, and I didn't get like a text message that said, hey, why don't you go vote for the new Bella outfit? And I was thinking like, okay, I got nothing else better to do, so I might as well. Bella Bright? Sure, no problem. And they win. But no, I did not vote for it. So I was completely surprised when Brie Bella came out looking oh so gorgeous. And actually, it's very clear that Brian got the better Bella. So, no offense at all to Nikki, and I find her attractive too, but I think Brie's Brie's better looking, to be totally honest. I think they're both absolutely knockouts, pun not intended. But when it comes down to it, I think Brie is better looking, just barely. There's a lot of B's in that statement, so I might want to stop with the B's before I end up getting into the Patton Oswalt bit about B-word fat. I put the bracelet on. Anyway, that's for you, Ben. So, Patton Oswalt's awesome, if you guys don't know that. So this match, like I said, fast-paced. Yeah, this is way too fast-paced. I don't have a problem with fast-paced matches. This would have been amazing and fun to call on commentary. But when I'm trying to write this stuff down, and I don't have a way to like rewind and like check what I missed, this is a problem, but I've become quite accustomed to it, and I got as much as I could, so let's go to this. Brie hits a reverse neck breaker on Natalya, and the charging knee on Natalya, and then Naomi gets caught, and she gets the running knee as well, and then Natty gets knocked off the apron. Drop kick by Naomi, ducks the clothesline, and Naomi with a snap Hurricane Rana for a 1 count only. Whip in, back elbow, AJ rolls up Natty, 1-2 and a kick out. And Naomi leaps up, hits the rear view on Natty and AJ, 1-2 and a kick out, puts Naomi on the buckle, and Natty put up on the shoulders, and I was thinking, tower spot? Nah. So Natty has her up on the shoulders, and she punches her way off, Naomi with a kick, and Naomi misses the flying body press by like a mile, to be totally honest. It looked like it should have connected, but obviously it didn't. Toss her to the floor, she's out of the match. Now a high kick to Brie, AJ gets pulled off the apron, sliding drop kick, Brie roll her up, 1-2 and a kick out. Snap suplex and the spin slam on Brie, and the discus clothesline on Naomi, and elbow strike on Brie, and slam on Naomi. Natty's in firm control, and she goes for, oh, this is awesome, by the way. So at one point, Brie is down, and Naomi is slammed on top of her. So both ladies are laying on top of each other, like back to chest, literally stacked on top of each other. Natalya comes in and locks a stacked sharpshooter on both divas. AJ kicks her in the head, goes to the satellite, into the Black Widow, and Natty tries to hold on, but she ends up tapping out. So, AJ Lee retains the Divas Championship. Okay. So, very fast-paced. AJ went over, and at this point, we don't know exactly who is going to be taking the championship off of her. I thought it was going to be Natalya, and Natty taps, so we can't really do that. So, where does Caitlyn fit in all this? Yeah, she's been kind of off doing her own thing for the longest time. As a matter of fact, she's not really on television very much anymore. If at all, really. So, where does Caitlyn fit in this? Is Caitlyn going to be the one to get the championship off AJ? I would say not, because I would think at this point, they even did a segment, like a promo before the match with Oksana and Alicia Fox and Layla, pretty much denouncing everything, and Layla was left, and she's like, oh, you're not going to turn your back on me? And she's like, no, I should go see what's going on with Oksana and Alicia Fox, and she peaced out, and I guess the best thing to say is, girl, bye. So, yeah, I actually said that. Hey, it makes sense, it's Total Divas. So, well, they're connected to Total Divas because they're feuding. They're the anti-Total Divas. So, that stable lasted 2 weeks. Actually, no, it lasted 2 shows. Anyway, I think the ideal thing to do right now is to put the Divas Championship on Natalya at a Battleground. I don't know how she gets another title shot. I think she has to win a non-title match on a Raw or SmackDown somewhere between now and October 6th. Well, let's look at this, shall we? In order for that to happen, she is going to have to win either tonight on Raw, as in the 16th. She's going to have to win Friday on SmackDown, which is the 20th. She'll have to win on the 23rd on Raw, which is that's it. That's the only option. Unless they do a very last minute thing, have her win on the 27th on SmackDown. I mean, she could still win on the 30th on Raw, but that's really pushing it. It's not long enough to put over the match. I think AJ loses to Natalya clean and in a non-title match, and that ends up giving Natalya the title match at Battleground, and she wins the Divas Championship. Because I don't think they're going to push this all the way to the end. I think Survivor Series is going to end up being Total Divas versus the Anti-Divas. And who knows, maybe Caitlyn will end up joining the Total Divas at some point. I don't know exactly how that's going to go. Obviously, they're not pushing for Eva Marie and JoJo Offerman in active in-ring matches. So that was really badly worded. They're not in active competition at this point, so can't really put them in a match. I guess you could, but you have to put them in with people that can actually guide them in the match. Either way, we'll probably end up getting that somewhere down the road. Our next match for the World Heavyweight Championship, Alberto Del Rio defending the World Heavyweight title against Rob Van Dam, of course, with Ricardo Rodriguez in his corner. So, this match was okay. I'm kind of used to these matches by now. So, let's talk about it, shall we? We got midway through the match. I actually got that this time around. So, Van Dam with a front suplex on Del Rio, putting him precariously over the guardrail, and we know exactly what that means. Van Dam ends up hitting the corkscrew leg drop to the back of the neck, suplex him back in the ring, it's blocked, suplex back in the ring again, it's blocked, and Del Rio suplexes him, he lands on the ring apron, so they're on the ring apron. Van Dam tries to suplex him back in, it's blocked, Van Dam gets tripped up, he looks like he literally tripped, and he goes to the floor. Del Rio with a tope sends Van Dam into the barricade, and he whips him into the barricade, tosses him back in, 1-2, and a kick out. So, goes to the chin lock. Van Dam punches and elbows his way out, sunset flip, 1-2, and a kick out. So, boot in, snap suplex by Del Rio, kick to the head, and he chokes him on the bottom rope. So, he kicks him in the head again, 1-2, and a kick out. Chin lock again, Van Dam elbows his way out of it. Backdrop suplex, Van Dam rolls to the apron, and he gets caught with a step-up enziguri kick by the World Heavyweight Champion. Knocks Van Dam off the ring apron to the arena floor. So, Del Rio goes for the tope. Van Dam pulls a Rob Petrie and sidesteps it, and he goes into the barricade. Toss him back in, ducks the clothesline, savate kick, 1-2, and a kick out. Whip in, charges in, caught Van Dam's back elbow. He goes up, springboard, into the side kick, 1-2, and a kick out. So slingshot leg drop while he is draped over the apron. Goes up top, leaping side kick off the top, and he goes for the Rolling Thunder. But when he rolls, he does the somersault roll through, and he gets caught, lands on his feet. Del Rio plants him with a backstabber, 1-2, and a kick out. So he puts him on the buckle, going for the inverted superplex, and 8 big back elbows, knocks him off, goes up top, nails a somersault, and 1-2 and a kick out. Comes off the ropes, gets caught, tilt-a-whirl backbreaker by Del Rio, 1-2 and a kick out. Goes for the cross arm breaker. He gets kicked in the face. The body scissors roll up, 1-2, and barely kicks out. Split-legged moonsault, 1-2, and a kick out from Del Rio. So Del Rio grabs the arms and drives the knees into them. Nails the GSK, 1-2, and a kick out. Leaping stomp, and he goes up top. He gets countered into a heel kick from Van Dam. He goes for the 5-star. Del Rio from a mile away gets the knees up. Locks on the cross arm breaker. Van Dam valiantly makes it to the ropes, calls for the break. So, what's happening at this point? He's got him in the cross arm breaker, calls for the break. And he calls for the break. And he calls for the break. And a referee puts the count on and puts the count on him. And once again, you have a 5 count in the match. So, Van Dam wins by disqualification. And the finish of this was awesome. I'm not talking about the actual match finish. I'm talking about the end of this segment was amazing. I love this. It's a really good ode to old school. So Ricardo gets a steel chair, and of course he's got his arm in a sling, courtesy of his attack from Del Rio on SmackDown. So Ricardo takes a chair, slides into the ring. And Van Dam DDTs Del Rio, which doesn't happen very often. So he's laying precariously in the corner. Ricardo decides at this point, I want to be Bill Alfonso for one night. So he runs over, puts the chair across the face. Van Dam climbs up. And yes, for the first time in forever, we get the Van Terminator from Rob Van Dam sending the chair into the face of the World Heavyweight Champion. And no Michael Cole. It was not a Van Daminator. I thought that was coming, though. But it didn't happen. So, there's always that. Good ending to the match. Just like I predicted, we get Fandango with the absolutely stunning Summer Rae taking on The Miz, the Battle of My T-Shirt collection. And this match was good, too. Actually, Fandango locks in a reverse bear hug. And Miz elbows his way out. Knee in and an elbow to the back of the neck. Miz with a rebound lariat. And that was really interesting. And he goes for the inverted atomic drop. And then the Yakuza kick. And then he charges in. He gets a boot up. And a drop kick to the knee. He kicks off the figure 4 attempt. And he kicks him in the knee. The snap DDT while he's in the ground. 1-2 and a kick out. Miz goes for a skull-crushing finale. Fandango back kicks him in the midsection. Nails a Falcon Arrow on The Miz. And gets a 2 count off of it. He whips him in. Goes shoulder first. Into the post on the ring apron. Which is nice because they're on the ring apron. And Fandango whips him into the post. Does the leaping kick to the face. And he nails the Sabu-style hanging leg drop. 1-2 and a kick out. He goes up top for the perfect 10. And he misses it. Goes for the cover, does the Miz, 1-2 and a kick out, and Fandango counters with a crucifix roll-up, 1-2 and a kick out. Miz ends up getting putting Fandango in the figure 4, and he quickly taps. This match was completely thrown together. Very happy that Fandango was on the pay-per-view. Happy to see these two get a payday. Always nice to see Summer Rae. Always happy to see Summer Rae. And the crowd were really into Fandango and Detroit. And that was really awesome. And, you know, it's really interesting that... it's kind of funny I mentioned that because I'll backpedal a little bit. It's kind of funny I mentioned Rob Van Dam getting the last laugh on Alberto Del Rio in Michigan, given the fact he's from Battle Creek, which is outside of Detroit. So, I don't know how far outside of Detroit, but pretty far outside of Detroit. I know it's in Michigan, so he's a Michigan boy, and he still got over at the end. And going back to that match, I think Van Dam is getting the World Heavyweight Championship, and I think it'll probably happen at Battleground. And that turn that everybody's chronicling about Ricardo turning and rejoining with ADR, I think it happens at Survivor Series. That's what I believe will happen. I think it'll end up being Ricardo involved in the Survivor Series match, and then he turns on Van Dam, and he goes back to Del Rio. And then Van Dam and Del Rio continue to feud. So that feud's not going anywhere. Speaking of feud's not going anywhere, Fandango and The Miz continues. Miz really needs to lose one of these times. There's been a pretty one-sided feud. Fandango's really getting over every single match. I love the Falcon Arrow. It was really awesome. He busted it out. And for those of you that have never seen anything outside of the Fandango gimmick, Johnny Curtis is a great wrestler. And I said it at WrestleMania, that Johnny Curtis is the real deal and he's going to shock the world. And he did, but not necessarily in the way he wanted to. So I do think that I still see singles gold in the future. I think that this is going to end up being the way that you get the Intercontinental Championship on Fandango. I think The Miz ends up beating Kofi Kingston. I think The Miz ends up beating Curtis Axel, takes the championship, Fandango takes the title off him, and then they feud over the title. That's what I think will happen. And I think that'll lead to the double turn, which will turn Miz back into a heel and Fandango finally into a babyface. Again, armchair booking, but I think it's going to line up pretty well. So our next match is our handicap match. So no, the match is not canceled. It was just Curtis Axel working twice. So this was really awesome. Right before the match starts, you gotta hand it to Paul Heyman and his awesomeness, coming out with 500 o'clock shadow, and he looks like he hasn't slept in days, or months, or weeks, or forever in a day. It's just a long time. And Curtis Axel was all happy because he retained the Intercontinental Championship. And he's like, it doesn't matter. I'm not going to leave without this championship tonight, so it doesn't really matter. But I'm going to help Paul Heyman beat CM Punk tonight. Well, Punk comes out with the Singapore Cane, and he throws out a nice, really awesome shout-out to Cliff Compton. And he yells, "Time to die!" And he runs out, and that's how we start the match. So Punk ends up hitting something really ironic. He hits a White Russian leg sweep, which is hilarious since Punk's straight edge. Pescott, he actually does a suicide dive, a tope in this case, on Paul Heyman. Toss him back in. Heyman is at the mercy of Punk right now. Axel low blow from behind, and Punk's in trouble. He gets the chair. Punk takes the chair from him, and drop kick, counter, 1-2, and a kick out. So, chair set up in the corner. I like to call this setting up your own demise. I know because I've done it several times. Punk with a whip in. Axel puts on the brakes, ducks the clothesline, club to the back of the neck, 1-2, and a kick out. So he gets a table because the entire crowd is chanting for a table. So let's pacify the Detroit crowd and get him a table. So they set the table up in the corner. So suplex is blocked through the table on 2 separate occasions. It's blocked again twice by Punk. So Axel gets it blocked, Punk gets it blocked. Axel ends up getting a snap suplex into the middle of the ring and makes a cover, 1-2, and a kick out. So he nails the Bret Hart elbow off the middle rope and locks on a chin lock. Now he fights up and goes for the Hart elbow again. This time he misses, and he gets basically shoved headfirst into the chair. Axel goes to the floor to regroup, rolls him back in. Punk with a leg lariat and the spinning neck breaker. The charged knee and the short arm clothesline, goes up top, going for the savage elbow. Axel rolls to the floor to break the momentum. He comes off the top and he comes through the ropes and nails him with the tope. Axel grabs the chair and Laparkas him and pastes him on the top of the head with the steel chair. That's going to be fine tomorrow. Rolls him back in, 1-2, and a kick out. So he nails the axe to grind, off the ropes, 1-2, and a kick out. So he gets the Singapore cane. And he canes her repeatedly in the back, finally makes a cover, 1-2, and a kick out. He goes for the hatchet. Gets countered into the go to sleep. Gets countered. Cane shot to the ribs, go to sleep, locks on the Anaconda device, and Axel taps. Right away, this tells you that CM Punk is about to get his hands on Paul Heyman. That is what most people were predicting. I was not one of those people. So, Punk chases Heyman through the crowd, and then gets back in the ring, grabs the cane. Heyman's like, I'm gonna smooth this over, and he hugs Punk, and Punk just basically gut shots him with the butt of the Singapore cane. And then he canes him in the back 3 times, and Heyman this whole time was like, oh my god, this hurts so bad, I never knew it would hurt so bad. So what does Punk do? He loosens his boot, and he pulls out some handcuffs. So he cuffs Paul Heyman's hands behind his back, and now he knows how it feels. and he canes the ankles. And I believe Jerry Lawler is the first one to mention this on commentary, and if he didn't say it, I was going to. Basically, CM Punk is hobbling Paul Heyman. And for those of you that don't know what I'm talking about, if you haven't seen the classic film Misery, picture CM Punk. Well, this is a weird connection. CM Punk is being Kathy Bates at this point, and there's not a block of wood in between the legs or anything like that, and there's not the sledgehammer, but still, he's basically caning the life out of Paul Heyman bit by bit. So he rolls him on his back, which he's obviously in tremendous pain because he has taken 1 billion cane shots and his hands are handcuffed behind his back. He's not going anywhere. So he canes the back and then he canes the stomach 8 separate times. Oh, by the way, I hate to bust your bubble for those of you that don't know, but it's pretty obvious that Paul Heyman, the reason why he was wearing a WWE jacket is because Heyman was probably, most likely, I can't guarantee it, but it seems like it's true, covering up the fact that he was wearing padding for this match. Heyman looked a lot bigger than usual, so I think that's the reason why. And I guess I understand given how many cane shots he took. I'm sure Heyman took a lot of cane shots, and I'm sure that wasn't much protection, but he had a little bit, so you could definitely tell that. I might be wrong on that, but I think I'm pretty sure I'm right. So, after this, Heyman is laying across the ropes. Punk picks up the cane, raises it above his head, like he's going to deliver the death blow. And this is the point that I called a new Paul Heyman guy. A lot of names were bandied about, and this name actually did come up. So I'm going to go with it. The table is set up in the corner. The first thing that pops into my mind is probably a stupid thing. Number 1. We're in Detroit. There's a table set up in the corner. Punk's getting speared through that table. So the thought that I believe a couple of people on Twitter posted about Rhino returning to WWE. He's from Detroit. The table's set up. He's the Paul Heyman guy. He'd spear. That's it. No, it was not to be. And I will credit Josh Eisenberg for this because Ryback was the person who showed up. Ryback ended up spearing Punk through the table, breaking it into 1 billion pieces. Puts Heyman on top of Punk. Referee counts 3. Paul Heyman pins CM Punk. Ryback picked up Heyman, drags him to the back, and that's the end of the match. This was the right finish. If you want to continue this. And obviously, this isn't ending anytime soon, folks, because if it were, this would have ended it. Heyman would have got his comeuppance, and that would have been the end of it. And Axel would drop the Intercontinental Championship on Raw, and Heyman would be off television for quite a while until Brock Lesnar comes back. This did not happen. And now, we have set up Battleground CM Punk versus Ryback. I don't have a problem with this, given the fact that Ryback's got a renewed push, being Bully Ry now. So, when he does this, he's not doing anything, really. Punk's not doing anything, so you might as well have him face off. So, that's exactly what we're building towards. And that started tonight, so Punk and Ryback are going to end up feuding for the next several months. Excuse me. So Punk's got a Survivor Series team against Heyman's Survivor Series team. And if Punk's team wins, he gets Paul Heyman in the ring at Survivor Series. He wins. His team wins overall somehow, some way, and Heyman gets his comeuppance finally. Or you just drag it out. I don't think this lasts past the end of this year. I think this ends before the year's over. I really don't see a reason to continue it longer. I do love that Paul Heyman's on my television every week. That's pretty awesome. But other than that, I don't really see a reason to continue this. Even though both of them kind of need to have directions right now, and this is the way to do it. So, we had our next match, and it is for the United States Championship. Dean Ambrose putting the championship on the line against Dolph Ziggler. Dolph's been booked pretty, much like a weakling this whole feud. He's pretty much not gotten one over at all. He got this title match by winning by DQ when Ambrose wouldn't break the 5 count. Second time it's happened on television in a couple of days. Actually, same weekend, actually, since SmackDown is Friday and the pay-per-view was Sunday. So, yeah, same weekend, 2 days apart. So, we get this match, and it's pretty good for what it is. Excuse me, it's kind of late, I apologize. Ambrose gets nailed with a drop kick. So he basically just showboats, and he does the sweat drip off, and he's like, can you do any better? And Ziggler just plays him with a drop kick. So he nails the 9 elbows, the leaping elbow, 1-2, and a kick out. Cactus clothesline sends both Ziggler and Ambrose over the top rope to the floor, toss him back in, whip in reverse, and gets caught with a huge sidewalk slam, 1-2, and a kick out. Power drive elbow, 1 count only. So the chin lock with a knee in the lower back, actually, like the point of the knee in the lower of the back. Locks in the chin lock again in a regular one. This time puts on a halo choke. Ziggler elbows his way out, comes off the rope, sunset flip, 1-2, and a kick out. So he stacks him up 1-2 and a kick out, roll into a sunset 1-2 and a kick out. So pinfall reversal spot. Very nice. Suplex float over, back elbow by Ziggler, and Dolph's on the turnbuckle, climbs up, and Dean Ambrose plants him with a butterfly superplex. Makes a cover, 1-2, and a kick out. He goes up top, and Ziggler climbs up to meet him, nails the Z-Factor off the top, 1-2, and a kick out. So a full Nelson. Roll through by Ziggler, 1-2, and a kick out. So he charges in, and he misses. Nails nothing but turnbuckle. The big Ziggler splash in the corner, into the 10 punch, and clothesline off the ropes, 1-2, and a kick out. So whip in reverse, satellite head scissors into a sleeper hold. Counter with a backdrop suplex, 1-2, and a kick out. So he goes for the charging front drop kick, gets countered, jackknife cover by Ziggler, 1-2, and a kick out. So he goes for the name dropper, and Ambrose ducks out of it. Reverse roll up, 1-2, and a kick out. Name dropper off the ropes, and 1-2, and at 3, Ambrose grabs the bottom ropes. Nice, believable false finish there. Toss him back in, kick to the face, and goes for Justice is Served, which is the Bulldog driver. Gets reversed into a roll-up, 1-2, and a kick-out. Goes for the big splash again. This time Ziggler finds nothing but turnbuckle, and Justice is Served on Ziggler, and that's the end. Good back-and-forth match. Still question who is going to take down the Shield, and I have an answer to this. Who's going to get the championship off Dean Ambrose? I also have an answer to this. You don't start it now. And I understand why you keep them apart for the time being. But eventually, the Shield and the Wyatt family are going to have to collide. And it's funny because Mick Foley went on Twitter this weekend and said that the next Mick Foley is either Dean Ambrose or Bray Wyatt. So it'd be interesting to see them feud. The promos alone would be worth it. So I think that's what we're ended up building towards eventually. I think Ambrose ends up losing the U.S. Championship to Bray Wyatt, and I think that Rollins and Reigns lose the tag team titles to Rowan and Harper. Not now, but I think it will happen. So pretty much putting up the idea that Kane might be a change man when he comes back, and Kane gets sicked on the Shield, and there's a lot of direction you can go with that, but it's not time yet. It's almost there, though. So this rolls right into our tag team title match, which is Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins defending the WWE Tag Team Championships against Darren Young and Titus O'Neil, the primetime players. This match was good, too. Young nails a tremendous rolling elbow off the ropes on Seth Rollins. Tagging to Titus. Titus hits double clothesline. Actually, no, Titus and Young hit a double clothesline, sends Roman Reigns over the top to the floor. And Rollins with a hot shot on D. Young and tagging to Roman Reigns. Toss him over the top rope to the floor. Toss him back in across the ring apron. Knee lift by Reigns, 1-2, and a kick out. Tagging to Rollins. Locks on the Shinanamaki or the Cobra Clutch, depending on how you do it. And he elbows out of it. Short arm clothesline ducks. Young catches him with an overhead release belly-to-belly suplex off the ropes and tagging to Reigns. Tosses him into the buckle to prevent the tag. He charges and he misses. He kicks off the foot, tagging to Seth. Backdrop, tagging to Titus O'Neil. O'Neil comes in like a house of fire. Big time shoulder block and spins Rollins like a top. 1-2 and a kick out. Big avalanche on Roman Reigns. Big boot on Seth Rollins. The no bump needed fall away slam. Lands on his feet and the leaping kick. So he goes off the ropes, gets caught with a huge sky-high Tiger Bomb, which is called the Clash of the Titus. 1-2 and a kick out. The referee is attending to Darren Young in the opposite corner, and that allows for Rollins to push Titus into the spear, and that's the end of the match. So, good match here. Not great, good match. Raw or SmackDown match. Primetime players getting the WWE Tag Team Championships. I think it might happen. It still could happen. But obviously you have to build the invincibility of the Shield as much as possible. I mean, they took out The Undertaker, so obviously they can't be stopped by the Primetime players, at least not now. So I think they continue to be Triple H's Monkey Boys for the longest time. Hashtag no disrespect. That's for you, Belfie. So that's what we got for now. I think we have another rematch for these two, either on Raw or SmackDown. Might end up being a Battleground, to be totally honest. Tag team title match, a Battleground. That could be where the Wyatt family end up showing up. Something like that. No Wyatts tonight. Really interesting. So we got our main event. Our main event is Daniel Bryan, the MVP of the WWE, taking on WWE Champion Randy Orton. WWE Championship on the line. Midway through the match, let's talk about it here. So Orton catches Bryan off the top rope with a 3.0 backbreaker. Charging clothesline in the corner, and he whips into the opposite corner, charging clothesline in the corner again, stomps Bryan in the head, and a boot in the midsection. Front suplex, hangs Bryan out to dry across the top rope, makes a cover 1-2 and a kick out. So chin lock, Bryan elbows his way out, comes off the ropes, ducks the clothesline, double leg, and Bryan pounds away to the top of the head. Clothesline for a 2 count, 1-2, and a kick out. So he stomps him in the head. And then Orton nails his version of the Garvin Stomp, makes a cover with the elbow across the face for a 1-2 and a kick out. A 13 punch. What's a 13 punch, you ask? He basically punched Daniel Bryan in the head 13 times before he let him go. Headbutt and whip in, backflip, lands on his feet, comes off the ropes, ducks Orton's clothesline, nails the hooking clothesline. You know how we do. The charging drop kick once, and then he hits it twice, and then the kicks in the corner, puts him on the top turnbuckle, nails the top rope, Hurricane Rana, and no pinfall this time, because Orton rolls to the floor. Bryan nails him with a tope, toss him back in, missile drop kick off the top, Orton rolls to the floor. So tope this time sends Orton to the barricade. Toss him back in. Orton again goes to the floor. So he goes for a tope, Randy Orton, combine it, Randy Orton punches him right in the head and goes for the snakebite DDT on the floor, and he plants Bryan. Bryan groggily rolls in at the 9 count, breaking the count just in the nick of time, goes for the RKO, gets countered with drop kicks Orton into Scott Armstrong. Keep this in mind. So he goes for the yes lock. It gets countered. There's no referee. A whip in, and Orton nails him with a Snap Samoa style power slam, 1-2 and a kick out. We have a different referee. Keep this in mind. He goes for the snake bite. Gets countered in the yes lock. Orton barely makes the ropes right before he has to tap out. So Bryan with the stiff kicks in the corner. Goes for the charging drop kick. This time, Orton's out of the way and he misses. Makes a cover 1-2 and a kick out. So he puts him on top. Goes for the Orton crest superplex. And Bryan slides through. Crotches him up top. He's tied to the Tree of Woe. The stiff kicks while he's upside down. Charge leaping drop kick right to the face. Puts him back on the turnbuckle. Going for the belly-to-back superplex. Orton with the right hands. And then the elbows, numerous elbows, sends Bryan off. Bryan comes up, nails him with a forearm. He climbs up, goes for a superplex. And he superplexes Randy Orton. He hangs on, swan dive headbutt, 1-2, and Orton barely kicks out. So Scott Armstrong is now officially a referee again. So we get the yes kicks, and he goes for the buzzsaw, gets ducked, caught, exploder suplex. So Orton pounds the mat like an idiot, goes for the RKO, gets reversed into a backslide, Orton rolls through, gets nailed with a buzzsaw kick, and the Busaiku knee, the fire-breathing knee out of the corner, and he gets the 3 off of it. Daniel Bryan wins the WWE Championship at the end of Night of Champions. But there's more to it than that. There's a little bit more to it than that. Think about it from this perspective. When Scott Armstrong bent down to make the count, it was a very fast count. So what's going to happen? On Raw tonight, what's going to end up happening is Daniel Bryan is going to get stripped of the WWE Championship. So once again, you're not going to get Daniel Bryan as champion. He'll face off against Randy Orton in Battleground with some sort of stipulation so there could prevent no interference. I call it cage match maybe. And this isn't the time yet either. I think a Survivor Series will be a match. I don't know if we go all the way to the Rumble or not. It could. It's anyone's guess. So I say this time, once Daniel Bryan wins the WWE Championship from Randy Orton, he's going to hold it for a long time, and he's not going to lose it for a long time either. So, Vince McMahon getting cast aside by Triple H and Stephanie and kicked out of What's Best for Business might lead to Bryan finally winning the championship and keeping it for a long time. So, that's what I'm thinking might end up happening. Good match. Not a great pay-per-view. It was okay for what it was. It felt more like a Raw or SmackDown than it did an actual pay-per-view until the very end. It was everyone retained their championships until the last second, and the logo came up, so Bryan did win the championship. So it was awesome, at least for a night. So that was Night of Champions. Sorry the video was so long. We talked over an hour on the pay-per-view tonight, so there's always that. And I know what you're saying. Oh, and stop saying it's tonight or tomorrow. Okay, it's after midnight, so technically it is Monday now, so I can actually say that and mean it. So we'll talk wrestling again on tonight/Tuesday morning when we delve into this week's edition of Monday Night Raw. The fallout of Night of Champions, find out what's going to happen with... Here's what I'm believing is going to happen. I think Scott Armstrong is going to get fired. And just like Goldust came back to try to save Cody's job, I think the Road Dogg is going to try to save the job of his brother, Scott Armstrong. And I think what's going to end up happening is Armstrong's going to get fired when the New Age Outlaws can't beat the Shield. That's what I believe is going to happen. And where's Shawn Michaels in all of this? I mean, Shawn Michaels is supposed to be on Raw the next couple of weeks, and obviously we know Bryan was partially trained by Shawn Michaels, so he's got a dog in this race as well, so there's always that. Dusty Rhodes has accepted an invitation to be on Raw this week, so interesting to see where that goes. The Rhodes family fighting with the McMahons. It was legitimate back in the day, now it's going to be turned into a storyline. Love how wrestling logic works. In the meantime, if you've stuck around with me for over an hour, thank you guys and girls out there for watching. And in the meantime, if you like these videos, tell your friends about them, leave a comment, do subscribe, and spread the word about Pop. If you want to tweet me, you're more than welcome to find me on Twitter. It's @SirOwenDisney. If you want to send me an email of some sort, send me your praises, send me your comments, thoughts, and opinions. SirOwenDisney@gmail.com, or you can find me on Facebook @OwenDisney. Very simple to find, very easy to find. So that was Night of Champions, and in the meantime, thank you guys and girls out there for watching, and until tomorrow, boys and girls, that's all I gotta say about that.